Okay, what's next for Carole Baskin?
Wow. I think the very next thing is to get this federal bill passed. We've been working on it since the 90s. The first part of it passed in 2003, and that was what made it illegal to sell a big cat across state lines as a pet. Before 2003, I had to turn away 312 big cats in a single year. In addition to the ones that I was able to rescue, there were 312 I couldn't rescue. And back then, all of the sanctuaries were just full and overflowing. And after that bill passed, the very next year, that number had been doubling every other year. But after 2003, when the Captive Wildlife Safety Act passed, then the number dropped for the first time ever. And it dropped to I think 160 something. And other states started passing bans and partial bans. And so I think last year we had to turn away something like 13, 14 big cats. So those numbers have continued to drop. And now, thankfully, there's enough sanctuaries that those cats were able to go to good places. Back in 2003, that wasn't the case. So ever since 2003, we've been trying to close the loopholes, because usually whenever, I don't know how much you're involved in laws, but whenever you're trying to get a law passed, there's always somebody on the other side. In this case, it was the Joe Exotics and the Doc Antles and the Tim Starks and the Mariota Bros. They were all fighting against it. And so they got a number of loopholes weaseled into the bill in 2003, but trying to close those loopholes has taken all these years. And I think now, because Tiger King has really shown a light on this industry and how these people are a bunch of criminals, it's going to pass this year. And so once that passes, I expect in the next 5 to 10 years, the cats who are currently in cages will die out from old age in most cases. And it's got to be the first step towards saving the cat in the wild. And we're going to lose the cat in the wild in the next 5 years or so if we don't stop the captive breeding. And it's hard for people to wrap their heads around that, because they think, well, if an animal's nearly extinct, you should breed more. And that's not true, because what happens is they breed all of these cubs for cub petting, but they can only use them for about a 1 month window, and then they have to get rid of them and breed more. And so that's why they're constantly breeding hundreds of these big cats. And there's no legitimate use for them after they're about 16 weeks old. And so that's when they start giving them away to people as pets, and that never works out, or they end up farming them for their parts, and they grow that demand for their teeth and their bones and their skins. And when you grow that demand, then it's just like the automobile market. As more people can afford cars, more people want the luxury cars. And the premium product is always going to be the tiger in the wild. And it's always going to be a lot cheaper to shoot a tiger in the wild than it is to raise a tiger until it's big enough to use for its parts, which is like 4 or 5 years. And it costs us $10,000 a year to raise a cat. So it's a very expensive proposition. And so that's why it's putting so much pressure on tigers in the wild, because you've got all of this currently legal activity that creates this smokescreen. If you get caught with a tiger tooth hanging around your neck tomorrow, you could just say it was my pet tiger and nobody can do anything about it. But if it was illegal to have a pet tiger, then you'd be in some serious trouble.
Have you ever had a bad interaction with a lion or a tiger? Have you ever been attacked by accident?
My worst scars have come from tearing bobcats apart when they're fighting. When cats are solitary, they don't want to share space. And so for the most part, our cats live apart. But every once in a while, there's been cats who actually seem to get along. But all of a sudden, one day, it was just like the gloves came off and they were going to kill each other. And so that's where I've gotten into the most trouble, is trying to keep them from killing each other.
Okay.
So how has your life changed now that you're quote unquote famous?
Here locally in Tampa, Florida, everybody knows Big Cat Rescue, and we've always been, media darlings. People just love being able, because we never charged the media to come out here and film the cats and get all the B-roll they wanted for all the shows. They wanted all of the programs we've ever participated in. We've never been paid for those. And so everybody loved us. And I mean, it was before Tiger King even. If I would pull up at a street light, I had a whole bus pull up next to me and open the doors, and everybody got up and was yelling out the window how much they love Big Cat Rescue. And so, that kind of thing was common around Tampa. I didn't realize the impact that Tiger King had on people recognizing me until I flew out to Hollywood for Dancing with the Stars. They had sent a private jet because I couldn't expose myself to COVID because my husband and daughter are very high risk for dying from that. And so they sent me into this little Nowhereville airport where nobody knew I was coming or anything else. And I got off the plane and I was just bombarded by people wanting selfies. And I was shocked because it struck me as so bizarre that people in California would have any idea who I was. I didn't really come to grips with it until then.
How close?
Oh, it's worldwide for sure.
Oh yeah. And how close is Clearwater, Florida to Tampa Bay?
About an hour. I go over there all the time. There's
that's where Hulk Hogan's from Clearwater.
I actually ran into him in a Home Depot one time. I was climbing the shelf trying to get something from off the top, and this arm came over the top of me and got it for me. He was like, "Here you go, little lady." And I was like, "Oh my God, he is huge."
Yeah. I thought you were going to say he came off the top with an elbow. This one's a good one. Who's the best tagger in the world? Tiger King, Tiger Woods, or Tony the Tiger?
Oh, Tony the Tiger. He's great.
Yeah. All right. I got one last question. Or how tired of being asked if you killed your husband? Like that must come up all the time.
Yeah, before Tiger King, nobody took these people seriously when they would say these kinds of things. It was said back in 1998 by people that turned out to be in Tiger King and who said it again. But because there was never any evidence to back that up, and like I said, at that page that I've mentioned before, people can go and see all of the evidence there. And it was never a thing. And even though Joe said it all the time, nobody would believe a person like Joe. But because the producers in Tiger King did such a good job of creating that
monster.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was like they gave this megaphone to anybody who would come out and say that I killed my husband as a way of deflecting away from the real issues. And I think that's why the people who have said it in the past have done so, is because, they don't want to talk about where these cats end up and what happens to them. And the best way to make sure that somebody gets completely off track is to throw something like that out in the air. It's like, oh, look at this guy disappeared and she's got tigers. And so she must have fed him to the tigers. And people are all just, like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. And then they've forgotten all about the fact that we're talking about cub abuse over here. So it served them well to be doing that, but it's never, I've never seen people take it and run like they did after Tiger King. So yeah, you can imagine. I've probably done, I don't know, maybe 100, 150 interviews since Tiger King. And of course, everybody feels like that's the question that they just have to ask.
I know. That's why I saved it till the very last question in case I didn't want it to throw it out there.
Hung up on you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, we did not want that. We are fans of Carole Baskin, so we are pro Carole Baskin. I just want to thank you very much for taking the time for us today and coming on. It meant a lot to us when we finally found out that you're willing to come on the show, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being persistent. I think persistence is the best character trait that anybody can have, and you guys were. So thank you so much.
If you're looking for a mug, perhaps a hoodie, head on over to IOnlyTouchGreatness.com.
Looking for the most beers on tap, great steaks, great staff? Head over to the John B. Pub.
We got the best beers, steaks, chicken wings, nachos in town. Come see us at the John B. Pub.
The John B. Pub, the best bar in town. Come sign up for our football pool. Say hey, sent you.